Tenaya, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast, the She Can Do podcast,
Of
and
course.
being one of our, I think you have consistently sort of been involved in all the initiation of our new projects and things. So, yeah, thanks again for that.
No, of course.
And I mean, look, you and I kind of know each other quite well, but maybe you can just share a bit about your background. You've got a really extensive background in the design industry.
Awesome. Yeah, so depends on how far back you want me to go. But I think, yeah, I always knew I wanted to do something design-wise. So I even
Mhm.
moved schools in high schools to go do design at Crawford Lonehill.
Mm.
Which is where I then also learned about the course that I ended up doing at university, information design at Tux, which
Mhm.
was, yeah, really cool because at the time I didn't know what type of design I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to
Mm.
make things.
Mm.
And so that was a really nice, like, broad degree to do. So we did marketing, photography, animation, and then UX, UI design as well,
Mm.
which I think was really cool because it set me up really nicely for the role that I actually went into, is being
Mm.
able to do a number of different things. And then in third year at Tux, or third and fourth year at Tux, you have to do a 6 weeks worth of internships at different
Oh,
companies.
yeah.
Um, one of my classmates said that her mom was working with these two PhD students and lecturers who had a company called Monkey River, and they needed like a 2 week internship. So I was like, cool, sounds good. I need to do internships. So it's right here at Tux. That's easy. I went for the first interview, which was a pretty chilled interview as far as things go.
Yeah.
And yeah, the first project I worked on was We Buy Cars with another designer who they were working with. And it was technically
Okay.
2 weeks that then just never stopped. And so I carried on working part time with them after that
Yeah.
for the rest of my studies. And then after I graduated, I was like, I definitely want to go overseas and do a little bit of traveling. So I'll just work a bit part time and then I'll stop working with you guys. And then COVID hit. So I decided to go full time. And it was really awesome though. I think the timing was perfect because I then got placed at Superbalist
Mm.
with Jax as my head of design, who was
Yes.
really awesome because she
Mm.
like cemented. Before I kind of still been more UI, UX was kind of a subset of it, and then Jax really cemented the UX thing. And so since then, I've just been placed at a few different places,
Mm.
and then about 3 years ago, became head of design at Monkey River, and
Mm.
then that's what I've been doing since then. So yeah.
Yeah.
Fairly, as I said, sorry, went far back, but I feel like it does explain a lot about where I came from.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I'm always interested in if people sort of like knew that they wanted to do design. Um,
Yeah,
which yeah,
exactly.
clearly it was. And at Monkey River now, so as head of department, what does like a typical day look like for you?
It's pretty chaotic. And so basically what I'd say is there is no typical day, though I've
Mm.
been trying, but in terms of the range of things that I look at, so part of it is trying to look at from a higher level strategic focus of what kind of things can I be putting in place to help the design team work more efficiently, have better outputs, work better with different stakeholders. So I'm busy working on a new process for how their time is planned so that it is clearer for them as to what projects to do when, what's the priority, that kind of thing, in conjunction with the project managers. So it's high level things like that. And then there's also obviously the day-to-days of helping out with the actual project. So I'll be kind of technical advisor on a bunch of them. So if someone's having an issue, I can come in, I can help review the work or help with a workshop to give ideas and suggestions. And then there are still a few projects that I do actual design on as well. So like BNP, I'm the designer there with a couple other people. And then like We Buy Cars and stuff, every so often we're still working with them despite my very yeah, I'm surprised when I look back at the work I did for them those first times, but it's fine. Somehow they carried on working with us. And so yeah, it's kind of a mix of all those things.
Okay, and I mean, it's such a range of different types of tasks and activities. Is there a favorite part? Do you have a favorite part of your job?
Yes, definitely. I think, yeah, actually, I kind of left out the parts that I don't like, which is some of it is still also a little bit of project management and, the admin of things,
Yes.
which is always there. Any job has that. But I think my favorite part is really actually that technical advisor, like a little
Mm,
bit of mentorship role. So
mm,
I really enjoy helping people to figure things out, to can you solve the
mm,
problem. Seeing them grow is really awesome. And then the strategic type stuff I actually also do enjoy because it's basically just system design. I'm designing
mm,
now, it's not for digital interfaces, but it's how can I design a process that works really well for the team. So I think
mm.
those two parts are really are my favorites about the work I get to do.
Okay. And not so favorite parts? What did you
Definitely
think?
ticket management is the
Uh,
bane of my existence, and time logging, and like having to follow up on due dates, like just anything that's slightly more admin related. My brain doesn't
yes.
quite enjoy, and yeah, I guess there's also part of people management is obviously dealing with the negative side too. So
Mm,
it's a have to. There's going to be times where people don't do what they're supposed to or mess up or dealing with clients where there's misunderstandings. And
mm,
so I think that one I just struggle with because obviously it's often very hard to know exactly what to do. You have to
mm.
try and mediate between a bunch of different parties and get to a good solution. Um, and yeah, humans are tough sometimes. To do that with. So that's always my thing is how do I balance like protecting my team but doing what's right for the client, but then
Mm,
making sure that like if my team was at fault, how do I get them to grow without then also
mm.
causing too much stress? Yeah, it's a tough one to balance.
It's very tough. And I guess, you touched on sort of mentorship and helping people. I'm curious more like you and the mentorship that you're receiving around, but yeah, your career, like up until now and even now. What has mentorship done for you in your role?
Yeah, I think like I'd mentioned Jax before, and I think she was probably one of the like the first people to really have that impact on me.
Mm,
And it really was like pivotal to my direction.
mm,
I think before I was still kind of in this, the student fantasy land of what's actually possible. Like you get your brief, you do the project, you can spend as much time as you want, all of that kind of thing. And then she really helped me see how to be pragmatic in the work that you're doing. And then, but you can still be like, I think she called herself the UX evangelist. Like you can still really push for that, but you can do it in a way that keeps in mind everybody that's part of the process. So I think
yes.
she was really pivotal in that and helping me see where I could grow. And then also, I guess, believing in me at that point, because
Mm,
my first interview with her was shocking. It was terrible. I don't know why she hired me. um, but then she gave me a chance and
mm,
believed in me and gave me that like freedom to grow. So I think that was really great at that
mm,
point. And it also just gave me a good example of what a good leader is.
mm.
She experimented with things. She tried different things. Like when I joined, she tried a new onboarding process with like to get contextual inquiries. And so I think that's also really shaped how I treat everything. Is everything is just an experiment. We try it out, we grow,
Yeah,
we
I love
basically treating everything like a user test.
it.
Which I think has is a really cool mindset to have
Mm,
in business. So that's been cool.
mm,
And then recently when I came into this role, I definitely was way out of my depth and winging it hard. Um, but she technically was my co-head of design at the time, but
mm,
Liz, who's now actually our head of client services, she, I
mm,
guess, had that kind of role with me. Like her and I could talk back and forth. We were in the same boat. We could figure it out together.
mm.
And you had someone to bounce ideas also when things were crazy. You had someone to vent to. So I think she kind of had that same role. And she also pushed me to be better. She would, if I had an idea, she's like, but have you thought about it in this way? Or what
Mm.
about the impact of it in this way? So I think that was also great. She would like having someone who's not just a yes man is really powerful.
Yes.
And then recently, I've been really fortunate that Alex from APSA had as like agreed to be my mentor in leadership, and he's also been really fantastic. So for like the past year and a bit, he's been helping, I think, just to give perspective because
Mm.
obviously I've been in the same company. And so, yes, I was placed in different places, but it's nice to see how different people do it, how sometimes something I'm stuck in my head about is not that big of a deal, that
Mm.
kind of thing. So, yeah, I think he's been really fundamental in giving me that perspective that not everything
Mm.
is as bad as it seems, or it's okay. You can just be meaner than you than I would like to be. Sometimes it's not being mean; it's actually for the person's own good, and all of that. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been really, and sometimes it's just to have someone to listen to you, like, and that you're not alone, like to just validate that it is hard to do, and
Goodness.
you will mess up. So
Mm.
yeah, that those have been, I think, like three of the biggest impacts that I've had over my career.
And yeah, I mean, those are like three really amazing people. What if we had to characterize like this is what makes a good mentor, like from these three
Yeah.
people who've sort of had an impact on you. Mm.
Exactly. Actually, I was also just, as you asked that question, it made me think about like Jacques and Rendani, who are my current bosses, like they're the founders of Monkey River. And I actually feel like they, I wouldn't necessarily have characterized them as mentors, just in terms of the fact that obviously it's the direct boss, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
But because it's been actually fairly indirect in the mentorship space,
Mm.
because it's been through example. And so I think that's what I thought of. As you said, a good mentor also kind of can show and lead by example in things, because it's all good and well to say you should do this thing, but if you can't actually apply it in real life, then what's the point?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, Jacques and Downey have really shown, okay, how to be accommodating, but at times you still have to be firm, and how giving someone their space when they need it,
Mm.
and like being a safe space to go to. Like whenever I've had an issue, I've always felt
Mm.
comfortable that I could go to them and discuss it, and they wouldn't blow up. They're not going to be judging me. They're going to listen and then try and find a good balanced solution. So I think that's also like what I had with Jax and Alex as well, is that it's about being a safe space
Mm.
that you can go to that person, be honest, and they can give you honest but fair.
Mm. That's a really nice way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. You're one of the few people we've spoken to who has had like, um, well, I guess two, but yeah, two female mentors.
Yeah.
Mm. Is there
It's
something that you think is good? Yeah.
I think it's super important. Actually, I hadn't thought about that, but it's I guess also like a female in a position of power as well is what makes a big difference. And I think like that was actually really important for me to see Jax in that point. And I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned that. Is
Mm.
like she was there as the head of design, and I saw her going, and like she chatted to the CEOs, and she had that was willing to stand up for what she wanted and everything. So it was like she is
Yeah.
a very strong female mentor, basically.
Mm.
Um, and funny enough, I think a few of the people that made the biggest difference for me have been women. When I was at Livewell, also not quite like a mentor in that way in UX, but I worked with one of the PMs was Laura, and has her own business as a side thing, and then she was working here. She's getting into the product space,
Mm.
and like there, she was also just a really awesome person to see like what you can do and just do it. Like, you don't ask for permission sometimes. Just you can go for it and do it. Have the audacity to just try. Like, I don't think I would have actually done half of what I've done in the past couple of years without either one of them, and just
Mm.
showing that like have the confidence to do
Mm.
it, to try. And so I think it's really actually important to have that. And then like with Liz, she's been a perfect example of how you can have empathy and caring. Like she cares too much in some cases and she knows it, but she's also extremely strong and extremely capable
Mm,
and gets results. Like she's one of the best people to have with as an account manager.
mm,
And so it really shows like how you can have empathy and be caring and everything and still be successful. You don't have to
mm,
follow the typical archetype in business.
mm. And do you think that there was something specific that you got from your female mentors as opposed to your male mentors?
Yeah, I think possibly like the big one is that um what I was mentioning with Liz kind of thing is there's a little bit more of I think the empathy side, not on all cases. So for
Mm,
example, like with Laura, it wasn't so much like empathy that really stood out, but it was the fact that like she was very. I'm sorry, I'm thinking this one through a little bit because there's a lot of little nuances.
yeah, yeah.
Like for example with Laura, maybe actually that's a good way of putting it. There's the ability to be more than like one thing, if that makes sense.
Mm, it does.
With Laura, she really enjoyed how like fashion and would wear makeup and look pretty and all of
Mm,
that and wear high
mm.
heels. But then she was also happy to like I can't I didn't the word I came up with was wrong, so I'm gonna quickly reword that one
Okay.
because it would have come out completely wrong. I was gonna say get down and dirty, but that's not the right thing. It's not the right way of what I'm trying to say. Okay,
No,
so
I
yeah,
guess.
so with
Mm,
yeah, with her, like you can care about your appearance, but also really care about your work. And I think that's often a thing of like, if women are
mm,
often worried about not being taken seriously if they care too much about what they look like. Or there's also then the other thing of like, oh, you have to care about what you look like. And so I think
mm,
that's the thing is like, you can be very serious, you can be extremely competent and everything while caring about what you look like. So who doesn't matter that you're
mm.
pretty, like you're there because you're actually good at what you're doing.
Yes,
It's like this weird dichotomy of it, if you're pretty, you might get a little bit ahead, but you also might not be taken seriously versus
yes.
the other way around. So um I think that's kind of the thing is that it was shown like there's a balance to life. It's not just okay work. And so I think that's what I got from a lot of the female mentors is you can care about the humans and you can care about business. And I think like that's what
Mm,
Jax really gave me is she understood that
mm.
there's okay business, you have to make money, you have to get the process out, cool, but you can also care about the people at the same time and you can have pink funky hair while doing it as well.
Yes.
um, um but like in touch with Jax, what she also understands though is there's a time and a place with that. Is like if you move into slightly more corporate space, you can still bring in those things, but there's a time where maybe you turn it back a little bit with you can change who you're talking to. So yeah, I guess it's hard because I don't want this to sound like Alex doesn't have empathy and he doesn't have those things because I mean like he's
And
a
he would take it.
fantastic mentor. And so I think that's thing that's not to say that they aren't male mentors who can bring that as well, but I think there is just this like deeper understanding of the experience you're going through when it is a like a female that you're chatting to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting, I mean, I guess slightly controversial, but there's this theory that, like, if also the more you look like your mentor, the more you might connect. And so I think that's also an interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I think because especially with mentorship, it is actually ultimately like a relationship that you're having.
Mm,
It's the same as a therapist. You want to be able
mm,
to actually connect with them in some
mm,
way, because
mm,
otherwise the examples you're going to be giving or the um feedback that you're going to be giving might not actually work for the person because there's lots of different ways of doing things. You can address a problem in a lot of different ways because we think differently. So I think, yeah, if you have a woman mentoring a woman, I think it basically just takes out one factor of difference. As in, they are in some companies there's less of a thing, but there's definitely still differences in a woman's experience to a man's experience. And so that's at least just one thing where there is going to be an understanding between the two of them.
mm.
But even with that, there might still be some mentorships that don't work because like then your personalities aren't exactly the same.
No, of
But I think
course.
it does help
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
bridge that gap a little bit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. And you yourself then have mentored many, many people, I'm sure.
I don't know if I'd say many people, um, but I think like within my team, it's also unofficial mentoring, so it's not necessarily in
Yeah.
the like it direct way,
Mm.
but definitely within the team, I do try and have that like space where I can give them advice. There's a lot of jokes going around the team about like my catchphrases or the comments that I'll leave when
Really?
doing reviewing. So
Yeah,
I think uh, so, I mean, the one is a classic UX one of it depends because I'll often be asked, like, what should I do in this scenario? And I can never just give a straight answer to them because I'm like, well, it depends on what you're trying to get out of this scenario. So if you're trying to do this with the client, then you should go down this road. So I think, yeah, a lot of the mentorship I've done has been in that kind of scenarios. If they're having an issue, that they can come to me and then I can try and work through it.
Mm.
Definitely trying to do
Mm.
the ask a question, not give a solution thing.
Yeah.
Trying being the operative word. So yeah, I think that's been one space. And then obviously recently with the She Can Do data
Mm.
program, I got to do the
Mm.
more official mentorship, which was
Mm.
also really cool, where
Mm.
it's a little bit more direct and like allocated time for it, which is really cool.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe, yeah, tell me more about what was it like?
Yeah. So I think it's interesting like to compare the differences between the two types
Mm.
because obviously before, as I said, very like unofficial, but in the moment,
Mm.
which does have an impact, but
Mm.
I think it's definitely a much like slower impact.
Mm.
And often it's fairly easy maybe to forget a few things. But the
Mm.
pro of doing it in context is it also has like real world consequences and you really
Yeah.
see why. So like when I give a suggestion, you really see why that might be happening. But what was really nice with the more like more direct
Yeah.
mentorship where we had the weekly sessions for like 2 hours,
Mm.
there you can make a much bigger impact much quicker. I do think it
Yeah.
might depend on the person and the state of their like where they are in their career. But with you, Lisa, it was really awesome. We got to build that relationship, and
Mm.
you could see very quickly how things would grow and how both of us learned things. Like I had forgotten a bunch of some of the like the basic things and why they're important. Like they kind of happen,
Yeah.
but you forget like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, there's this thing I could actually be utilizing in my day to day. And then with her as well, she could get a lot of knowledge that I took like a couple years to get to within a few
Mm.
months because it was
Mm.
stuff that I'd like picked up slowly. I'd learned it from this client, and then from this client, I'd learned this. So yeah, it was really nice to be able to share a lot of the stuff that I'd learned over a fairly long period of time in a shorter span of time uh,
Mm.
for her. Um, so yeah, I found it really rewarding and nice to see her grow. And it also
Mm.
gave me a little bit of validation that, hey, I have actually learned something over all this
I
time.
know something.
Exactly. It's amazing. So yeah, it was a really awesome experience and definitely keen to do it again when when things quieten down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you keep up with all the many things you're up to?
Keep keeping up might be a strong word. Uh, um, it's definitely always basically like triage of I have my list of things and I have to decide which one is most urgent and most useful, will make the biggest impact now.
Yeah.
So Annie, one of my design leads, recently showed me like a way that she just helps for like structure her day. It's extremely simple. It feels like one of those things where you should know it, but then when someone shows you, it works really well. And it's basically just the block of okay, choose actually only 3 things for today, and then is there anything like that someone else needs to know? Is there anything that's blocking you that you might need to address? And like, is there
Mhm.
there's another block that she had that I don't really use, but it's a thing of literally just, okay, what has to actually happen today? And you have those three things, and then once you've got those three things, then you can go look at the long list of other items to address. And so yeah, I think that's good because it's basically you do things right now. Why that's good is I think when I first started in my position, it felt like everything was important, everything was urgent, everything had to happen right
Yes.
now. We need all the design process right now. We need all the documents right now. We need perfect design system right now. And that's just obviously not feasible.
Yeah.
And so it was a big learning thing of, okay, if I don't do this now, the world actually isn't going to burn down.
Mm, mm, mm,
It would be
mm,
nice if I could do it now, but it's okay. So yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing is what will actually negatively impact someone else if I don't do it now, or what will make the biggest impact if I do it right now.
mm.
Yeah. So I think that's really helped. And I'm still figuring it out. There's definitely still times where I go down the wrong rabbit hole, but that I
Mm.
think has helped me balance the different things I'm working on.
Not you. And I guess, yeah, what was it about the She Can Do Level Up program that made it fitting to be one of those priorities? What were you?
Yeah. I think for me it kind of came at a time where in my role things were shifting a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
for a while it was me as a co-head of design with Liz, and then she moved
Mm-hmm.
into her current role as head of client services, and then it was just me, and the company kept on growing, our clients grew, and basically there was a realization of I can't do this alone. I'm doing too many things. So then we
Mm-hmm.
got to design leads and they were appointed, and that kind of changed what my role was.
Got you.
And so I had to start thinking about what do I really enjoy. So your question before
Mm-hmm.
was what I had to go through. And it was end of last year when I was really starting to realize I really enjoy the mentorship thing. I really love it. It brings me like a lot of joy to actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also after a year of going out and meeting a lot more people. I'd really been putting in a lot of effort to meet more of the UX design community. Um, so yeah, it kind of was at the end of that where I realized there's a lot of need for it. There's a lot of young
Mm.
UX designers trying to get into the space, and that I really enjoy it. um, and so yeah, I think for me it seemed like the kind of experience that would help me grow. It would teach me how to be a better mentor,
Mm.
and it was definitely worth making time for it.
I'm glad. And can you share like some of the, yeah, I guess the things you learned or your key takeaways?
Yeah. I think some of the like more simple, straightforward things I learned was that you definitely need, there is a limit to how much information you can give someone in one time before it becomes too much. So like as much as I was saying, yes, I was able to give a lot of knowledge over in a short period of time, it's also just not too short a period of time. So I think for it to make an actual like impact, it's just important to know that choose a few key areas to focus on. I think that was a very important thing is like with most things, you can't do everything all at once. So
Yeah.
for example, when I started with Ulisa, I gave her a bit of a skill matrix review, which is similar to one that we have at Monkey and River, so that she could get an idea of, okay, these are where her skills are at.
Mhm.
These are things that she knows about and doesn't know about as well. And
Mhm.
then from there, I kind of had set up a bit of a plan to go through most of the basics. But as we actually spoke to each other, we realized these are more the key areas to focus on. So we didn't get through the full plan of everything, but that was actually okay because we ended up focusing on the things that would actually make that impact. So yes, we spoke a lot and I gave a lot of information about those things, but it wasn't as broad. It was stuff that actually would be useful right now. So I think that's also like relevant is she wanted to get an understanding of what the industry was like. What kind of things should she actually focus on in interviews and portfolios? Like what should she look at? So yeah, I think that was important is you can give someone a whole bunch of information, but if they're not ready for it, it's not going to actually help them. It's just going
Yeah.
to kind of go in one ear. It might be interesting, but
Yeah.
it's not useful. So yeah, working with the person to figure out what actually is useful right now was something that I definitely learned from that experience.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess having a plan is good because it does help keep things moving. but also be open to pivoting a little bit, because I think a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. So they might come in saying, I want to learn this. And then you realize, okay, for that to
Something.
happen, you need this foundation first.
Mm,
So, so yeah, I think that was also something, is like, have the plan as a nice guide, but be willing to pivot when you notice that there's something else that needs to actually happen
yeah.
first, or becomes more important. Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything that you do differently now after having participated in the program?
Yeah, I think I'm being more intentional about the mentorship in Monkey and River,
Yes.
because I think I noticed, for example, I have a 2 or 3 juniors on the team. I say 2 or 3 because the third one is kind of becoming more intermediate. But it's very easy to forget how much you know. And I think that was what I actually,
Mm,
another big learning is
mm,
when I started having to explain some things that to me are just so core to my everyday, like
right.
they no longer are things. It firstly made me realize that for our clients as well, it's so
Mm,
easy to get frustrated when a client comes and like, no, don't do the heuristic review, or don't do that, the persona, or don't do the journey. It's a waste of time. And then we
mm,
can all go be annoyed because our client is being so malicious, and how could they like not trust our our
yes.
um our expertise and everything. And then you kind of have to remind yourself that they don't know what we know. They're not UX experts.
No.
It's ignorance, not maliciousness. um
Mm,
and it took us a long time to learn and fully understand the benefits of some of these things. I mean, there's still a debate within actual UX professionals as to whether personas are useful. So how can you
it's true.
how can you expect your client to know that? And then likewise with new juniors, is it's
Yes.
very easy if you've been in the industry for long enough to forget some of the core things. And so
Mm,
to actually be more intentional with, especially with your juniors, the mentorship there, and making sure they have the fundamentals.
mm,
So actually, it only really has happened recently because of time and everything. But I've just opened it up now to say, if any of my juniors, or take actually anyone, but it is aimed more at the juniors, if they want to set up a session with me, it will be outside of work hours, but where it can literally just be a Figma time where we can go through it, because we had an instance where like I I was busy designing alongside someone else, and they're like, "Whoa, what did you just do?" And it was something that to me was like, so I
yes.
don't I did the thing.
Don't even know.
Exactly. And so it made me realize, okay, there's probably like a few gaps
Mhm.
that yes, they would naturally learn, but if I could help speed up that process. So yeah, I had already been doing it more intentionally in the day to day, but now as well, just basically opening it up for those sessions. And like
Mm,
Ine, one of my design leads, said she's also happy to have some of those sessions. So if someone is keen, they can just set up a time, and then
that's so
you
cool.
give them that time. Yeah. So hopefully we just started it, but I think it'll help a lot. And then our hope for
Mm,
next year as well is to start introducing a proper actual like learning program for our juniors. So I guess like junior graduate, like a lot of your graduate programs have that, but basically doing that is there's a actual set of courses or tasks or things for junior people to
mm.
go through that just helps get them that base, basically.
It's quicker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, that's very cool. And I must ask, like, just because it's so topical, where in this sort of world of juniors, sort of, progressing through their careers, where is AI sitting in that?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one within UX, because I know
Mm.
like within the software design space, a lot of the worry is that using AI too much is going to take away that like foundational level of
Yeah.
what the like devs actually learn. So our lead developers are concerned about, for example, even like the dev mode space, is if you're copying some of the code. Yes, it makes things faster, but then it could also lead to using the incorrect thing, or it's not
Mm.
actually
Yeah.
optimized, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a There is a kind of a similar worry within design. I mean, we now do have some of the more like generative things as well. There's vibe coding in terms of Lovable and Figma Make
Mm.
and all of it. But I think, yeah, it's not as big of a concern in that way for juniors. I think rather what I'm trying to get the team to use is how can you really help bridge the gap in learning. So one of the big things we're doing currently is for developer and design a collaboration, and how can we work better together? How can we make sure that our designs are better for when we're handing over, so that we've
Yes.
either done some of the legwork already for the devs, so they don't have to think through all of the things. We've given them as much of like the error copy and all of those
Right.
items. But then also dev note wise, like if we ask them to do an animation, literally we know that they're using Flutter. Cool. Let's go
Mhm.
find a Flutter animation that we like, show them an example. In some cases, they can literally use that exact one because it's from a library. In other cases, they just match it. So, yeah. The thing is, though, to think about all of that, especially when you're a junior and you don't really understand all the technical things, is quite hard.
Yes.
So, what I'm encouraging now is, okay, do your states. Obviously, you need to think about IP and stuff, but where it is possible, do the states, do the dev notes that you can think of. Then
Mm.
use GPT to say, what are the kinds of dev notes and states that I haven't thought of? Please give me
Mm.
examples here, which then helps to like bridge that gap. So as a junior, you might not know that a developer will need this type of interaction
Mm.
or information about an interaction. Like, it's so easy to say, I want this person's name here, but if we don't have it in the DB, how are you going to show it? So that's where something like AI can actually assist with that knowledge gap. But what I've found is there needs to be a prompt to help them do that. So I think in terms of mentorship, it could be guiding them in how best to, because as with everything, it's a
Mm.
tool that depends on how well you use it. So if you're giving the wrong prompts and stuff, it's not going to help you anyways.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Sure. What a strange world. I do see a lot of like yeah, younger junior designers they seem quite anxious about what AI is going to do. Um,
Yeah,
do you see the same?
exactly. I think I've seen a little bit of the anxiety in it, and it's kind of comes out as, okay, I'm just going to ignore that it's there. Like, I'm not going to play with it too much, which I think is quite a dangerous thing to
Mm.
do. Is And I understand it though. It's because it's like, okay, it's there. There's so much
Mm.
happening. It's
Mhm.
complex. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing. So I definitely do see that, because obviously there's a worry of like, what if it takes a job, or how well does it do it? So I
Mhm.
recently actually, in our retros, we have icebreakers, and one of the icebreakers was, okay, you have to go play with Figma Make. Do it. Because
Okay.
I think a lot of my team had been forgetting, like ignoring that Figma Make had come out. And so we played with it, and then you can see there's some things that aren't the greatest. It does do some things really great. And I think that was great. It gets them past that feeling of there's this big scary thing. And then you see what it can actually do. And you're like, okay, that's what it is. And where is it useful? Like, it's really useful if your clients and you are
Mhm.
missing, and you need to just
Mm.
get an idea down to be like, okay, is this what you want? Because sometimes you're not on the same page with things. Or what was interesting is a lot of the team used it for like a use case, either of a project they're working on to like see what it would give them, or a tool that they might want. And what was nice, there was a couple suggestions that it gave that they were like, that's kind of cool, that should think about it. So it's almost like desk research. It's just in a faster format.
Yes.
Like, because all Figma Make is doing is pulling from what's already on the internet. So
Mm.
obviously,
Mm.
as always, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. But what was also nice is they could look at it and be like, yeah, that's a dodgy suggestion. That's a nice suggestion. And then you take what you
Right.
want as inspiration, basically. So yeah, so I definitely have seen there is that anxiety, and I think, yeah, in some people it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna then ignore it.
Yeah, I guess like anxiety, fear of the unknown. Um, yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
but maybe that blocks you more than it should.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I understand though, because it's even for myself, things are moving so fast, it's hard to keep up with it all. I
Yeah.
have that same
Mm.
feeling of there's just so much and you still have to work. Like you still have to get your stuff done. So sometimes it
Yes.
also my anxiety is the feeling of being left behind because I'm still just trying to do my work. I don't have time to fully play with everything and figure out what's best. So yeah, that's where like my anxiety comes in is am I ignoring tools that could actually be really helping the team as well.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but there's just too much to like keep track of.
My
So
gosh,
yeah,
it's too much. It's true.
exactly. Yeah, and I don't have a solution for that at the moment.
Mm.
It's just try. Yeah.
And yeah, I think the other thing around the mentorship that I wanted to ask you was, yeah, what were some of the things that you learned from your mentee?
Yeah. I think one of the like core things was I guess getting back into a little bit of the wonder of some of it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
it did remind me of like re when I was starting with Jack the first time, like before I started working at Superbalist, I went into
Mhm.
a panic of like, I don't know enough. And so I just deep dived into all the Nielsen Norman articles and videos and I could find. And I guess I really, that's when I kind of fell in love with UX.
Mm.
And I think especially when you get into the leadership role where you end up not doing as much design,
Mm.
it can be, I guess, easy to forget that a little bit.
Yes.
Because you're not doing it as much and maybe you're dealing with more things that just feel like fires than you're actually like creating anything. And so
Mhm.
I think that
Mhm.
was nice. It's like to especially because she was just starting out, it was to really see the joy in it again and like what it is like the
That is
wonder that
nice.
actually comes with it is like when she learned something new and saw the impact it was really awesome
Mm.
and kind of reminded me of when I was starting with it. It makes me sound like I'm saying like I'm so old. It wasn't that long ago but still it feels like ages ago. um that's so funny. I sound so old but it's fine. Yeah.
It's true, but I mean, yeah, I guess we've still got long to go, but it's still a while ago as well.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think that's thing. Things change no matter how long it happens. If enough
Mhm.
things change, it can still take you out of that space. So yeah, I think that was really, really cool.
Mm.
And there's probably so many more things that like there I just really enjoyed the conversations that I had. So there was lots of like
Mm.
the small little things as we were going through it that she definitely like gave me.
Mm.
So yeah, it's hard to like pinpoint a big learning. It was more like as we were chatting, there's these small little bits of info that were really nice to hear uh, and yeah, basically go through.
Okay. And yeah, if you had to, recommend Level Up to other people, whether they're looking to be mentees or mentors, who would you recommend would benefit from something like this?
Yeah, I definitely actually think if you are getting started in it, it would be fantastic because I think that was the one thing that I realized is there's so many of these unsaid things that are in the industry um, that are actually really useful to know. Like when you're going for an interview, when you're doing your portfolio, when you're doing your first project.
Mm.
I think as I was saying, like when I started, I still had the varsity thing of you get this kind of brief. It's very straightforward. You go through step by step. You do
Yeah.
every step and everything. And so I think there's a lot of benefit to if you're starting in the industry, having somebody to
Mm.
just help you with some of those unsaid things. And there's all of this to
Mm.
learn, but it's okay. Just start here. This is what will
Yes.
make an impact. Um,
Yes.
and then I guess likewise, if you're getting into a new role, so like what I found very useful is having someone when I was in a new thing, you dealing with imposter syndrome. and all of that, you've just moved now. If you're
Yeah.
being a design lead for the first time,
Mm.
if you are going in as the head of department for the first time, that kind of thing. I think those
Mm.
first areas are really useful to
Mm.
have a mentor. And then I think as a, yeah,
No,
sorry, what are
I
you
just
going to say?
I I like the thought, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think, I mean, obviously, very straightforward is if you're wanting to level up in a specific way. So if you realize that in this specific role that you're at a company, because sometimes you can get siloed, you're basically just UI and you realize you really want to try and level up UX, but you don't
Mm.
have an avenue to do that at the company you're at. I think that can also
Mm.
be really useful because the mentor can help give you that guidance, even give you some projects and then feedback on those things to grow in that area when you wouldn't be able to do it at the company you're at currently.
Mm.
Because obviously the problem is if you then try get into that role at another company, if you don't have the experience or the knowledge, you might not
Yeah.
be able to shift there.
Mm.
So I think that's also really useful. And then in terms of becoming a mentor, I think I've heard from like there's a couple people, so this isn't from a personal experience, but more from discussions I've
Mhm.
had with other people of when they would want to do that is it's also very easy to reach a stage where you feel like you're not progressing yourself anymore. Like
Mm.
you you've reached this level of competence, and depending on the company you're at, it's going to be a while until you get to that next level of
Mm. Mm.
leadership or something. And so I think it's a nice way of giving yourself another challenge or being able to give back and grow in other ways if at the company you're at that you've also kind of reached a level where you're a bit stagnant until you can get somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I just think my headphones just died. 1 second.
Okay. All good.
There we go. We're back. Sorry, they just turned off. So yeah, I think if you are looking for another kind of challenge that is
Mm.
outside of your day to day,
Mm.
and even in some cases, if you yourself want to take that skill to another level, teaching is a fantastic way of like
Yes.
you have
Yeah.
to understand it really well to be able to
Mm.
teach it to somebody.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it puts you out of your comfort zone and it forces you to be able to really know that subject matter. For example, if you want to do something around user testing or research. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you really need to know it. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, Tanaya, thank you so much for your time today. It was so much fun chatting to you. Um, do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to share with the She Can Do community?
Yeah, I think in terms of around like the mentorship and everything, I know I've chatted to a couple people around it. And I think, for example, one target audience I mentioned as being starting can then feel really hard. You're maybe not earning that much, and so it's tough to decide whether or not to pay for like a mentorship or something like that. And so I think my advice is that it obviously you can know yourself if you're that type of person who will actually benefit from that relationship. You can learn a lot by yourself if you there are those types of people who just do really well at deep diving by themselves. But I think it can really help you so much in so many ways having that mentorship, even if it's just from a mental health perspective of having someone in your corner.
Mm.
If you're lucky to be in a company that is very supportive, that has good leads, then great. But there's also,
Mm.
unfortunately, a lot of companies out there where you're either you don't even have another lead to like
Yes.
teach you, you're figuring it out yourself, or they're not that supportive. The company itself is a little bit toxic. So I
Mm.
know it can feel tough to like take that jump, but I think
Mm.
it can make a massive difference for you to do that,
Mm.
just to have that like person that's there in your corner that you can go to. I think it makes a big difference.
Mm.
And yeah, I guess for those people that aren't yet at the point where they can do that or they don't feel like they can afford it, is then just to just really try get into the community. I think like She Can Do has some of the events that are for like their graduates. And yes, you might
Yes.
also just be a graduate, but go to them. Like there's a lot of events and things happening out there. And so I wish I'd started to go to the community events way sooner than I did. I think I would have
Mm.
grown a lot faster if I had. So, yeah, in some way, find community within the UX space. It'll really help your career, your mental health, the quality of your output, everything.
Ugh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. It was really, really great to chat.
thank you so much for having me. And yeah, no, thanks as well for inviting me onto the events and inviting me to the mentorship program and all of those things.
Thanks for
It's
always saying
been
yes.
my boyfriend might not agree, but it's I like it.
We'll thank him one day.
Exactly. No, I really appreciate it. It's a really awesome community to be a part of, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are doing next as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
One.